And good afternoon. Welcome to Kelowna Now Live, broadcasting on YouTube and X. Jason Mann with Jim Check and our afternoon headlines. Well,
we got a big show.
We've got a long lineup here. Lots of stuff going on.
Stay with us. There's some really cool stuff at the end.
And if you happen to see something along the way that you want to make a comment on, by all means, drop a comment in the comments, and we might even share those comments on the air live. Starting things off, Kelowna hitting a $1.7 billion.
$1.7?
$1.7 billion.
$1.7 billion. There you
go. Record, a new
permits.
Record in building permits.
Passing $1 billion mark, third year in a row.
Yeah, so not only is it a record, but it's the third year in a row over $1 billion.
There you go. Making that record as Canada's fastest growing city.
Oh.
Hey, pretty exciting. Hey, third year in a row, surpassed the $1 billion mark, just as you said.
You look at the
first
skyline
cracking that in 2021. So we had the three-peat going on. Hey, so that's cool, right? So 827 applications through City Hall. Wow.
1,900 building permits.
Building permit volumes were lower in 2022, but obviously the price of the cost of the developments was higher. So in 2023, 1,900 building permits issued, down from the approximate 2,260 in the year prior, and the record-breaking permits of 2,865 in 2021. So there you go. If you go to Kelowna Now, you can read
all
this stuff. The vast majority of these permits this year were $32.99 of those were for apartment units, right? So there you go. There's a nice little chart there that shows you some really cool stuff, right? So you can go on Kelowna Now and you can read that. And yeah, I think that's it's a good story. It's a good news for Kelowna. More homes in Kelowna is what's needed, for sure, right? One of the biggest complaints about Kelowna, housing.
It is.
Teens.
Okay, moving on. Teens airlifted to Vancouver for burns suffered in a New Year's bonfire.
Yikes. I don't know if you did bush parties when you were younger, but I did a lot of bush parties growing up in Greenwood for sure. A pair of teenagers are recovering from significant burn injuries at BC Children's Hospital in Vancouver after a bonfire explosion in Smithers. According to police, the incident happened in the early hours of January 1, of course, on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. As a group of 30 to 40 people gathered around to celebrate New Year's Eve, the explosion reportedly happened when somebody threw something in the fire, and the RCMP is causing several people to suffer burn injuries from minor to serious. Fortunately, none of the injuries are life-threatening. The two most seriously injured teens have been identified through GoFundMe campaigns as Jordan and Micah. Both were airlifted to Vancouver for treatment. According to the fundraisers, both boys suffered second and third degree burns to their face and hands, and Micah also suffered some burns to his chest. They're likely to spend some significant time recovering at BC Children's, and the creators of the GoFundMe said that both boys will be facing surgeries in the days to come. At the time of publishing this, they had raised about $17,000, $18,000. So you can go to the story on KelownaNow.com and you can contribute. But I can remember lots of times at those bush parties when somebody would, obviously there's some bottles of courage involved there too, and people do some things that aren't exactly things you would do when you're not under the influence.
And you can see, despite the severe injuries there, he's in fairly good spirits with the thumbs up.
Well, I think after you go through something like that, lucky to be alive.
Yeah, no kidding. And the BC School District has been ordered to pay a student $5,000 for failing to address her anxiety.
So they're not naming the school district, but the Human Rights Tribunal is finding them, asking them to pay $5,000 for failing to accommodate this student's anxiety disorder. They say in a decision released last month that the school district failed to take reasonable steps to investigate and address the student's anxiety over transition from elementary to high school. So the student was diagnosed since kindergarten with anxiety and had been on medication since grade 7. And when she made the move to high school in the fall of 2018, I guess the teacher had been laughing at her and poking fun at her.
Oh, that's not cool.
Not very nice.
No.
So there you go.
And this is fun. Witches light up Wood Lake in start of a new holiday tradition in Lake Country.
Which of those kayaks would you go in? Couldn't resist. I guess about 20 people braved the chilly waters of Wood Lake last week for a creative and bright event that looks to be start of a new tradition. because they typically do this for this is their Halloween witches. This is where the witches thing. So on Halloween they put on the witches' hats, and they get quite a few of them out there. Like I think they had like well over 150 out there for that one.
Can we go back to the other picture?
For the light up one?
Yeah, it's like a witch's toque there, maybe.
Yeah, the toques of So anyway, it's the same group though. In the Halloween one, they had 165 costume participants paddling across, and then so they're trying to start this new tradition, which was on Friday, December 29th. So hey, if you've got some lights and a kayak and you need something to do next December, you know where to go. They've got a Facebook group too. Again, go to KelownaNow.com, check out the Facebook group. And looks like Marcy's already signing up there. I see her keyboards going there.
Lights make
what are you trying to say?
She loves water and lights.
Not insinuating anything there. Lights make dark days of winter just a little bit better, don't they?
Makes for good photos, too.
Yeah, for sure. Okanagan accessibility advocate has received a Medal of Good Citizenship.
Yeah, an Okanagan woman has just been awarded the Provincial Medal of Good Citizenship. Along with 20 other recipients, Spring Hawes is being recognized for her contributions to community life in the Okanagan. Congratulations.
Nice. And a BC truckers group. Now, we've been hearing about this overpass strikes a fair bit, but a BC truckers group now calling for the government safety review on overpass strikes.
Or maybe just a tape measure.
Just some practical advice.
Just saying. Like, I'm pretty sure GPS should be able to tell them which ones are lower and then how high that load is. Because I don't think the load grows as they travel, does it?
Didn't think so.
You didn't think so? I don't think so either. But anyway, more than 30 overpass strikes by commercial trucks in BC in the past 2 years.
That's a lot.
A trucking group is urging Transportation Minister to conduct a wide-ranging safety review and see if those trucks actually have tape measures in them. I'm kidding about the tape measures. Maybe I shouldn't be, though.
No, I think that's...
The United Truckers Association says in a statement that the recent overpass strikes have brought to light deficiencies in road safety for commercial vehicles. I'm thinking they have to have a way to measure that.
You know what? Maybe in the truck yards, wherever they kind of originate from, they need like a sign at Disneyland. Must not be over this height, though.
I know different roads have different heights, though, but they should know the height that they're traveling on.
Yeah.
The route. Yeah. Anyway,
need a flight plan.
Seems weird.
Mm-hmm.
So the group is asking Transport Minister Rob Fleming to understand that all parties in the supply chain need to be held accountable and improve road safety. Asking the government to get more involved seems odd, right? Why not just find them more?
Considering everything.
Do you know what I mean? Anyway.
And speaking of government, official opposition, Renee Merrifield, says BC is risking losing talented young workers as housing costs are driving them out.
I mean, that's this is a column that Renee submits to us on a monthly basis, and we print all of them that get submitted to us. And here we go. She talks in this one about the root causes of people leaving, soaring cost of living here, severe housing crisis, and a migration trend, particularly prominent this year. And she's concerned about the long-term economic and social implications for BC. So for the third quarter in 2023, BC experienced a net loss of 4,634 residents, with 17,000 people moving to other provinces and only 12,000 moving in. Most of those moving in are likely from overseas or somewhere. Mm-hmm. And Alberta has seen net gains of over 10,000 people for the past 5 consecutive quarters. The Alberta is Calling campaign, and we know some people that
I was going to say, we all know somebody, I think, who's moved to Alberta now. Almost.
Or moving to Alberta at some point. I mean, I love Alberta. Alberta is amazing. And I love Calgary. Calgary is our sister city. And if they could just build a faster link to it, that'd be amazing. I mean, an hour with WestJet is a pretty fast link.
Yeah, it's good. But
if you can fly Flair and Lynx too, if you've got a couple of days.
Yeah.
I kid. They get you there sometimes.
Lynx. I don't get this exactly, but the provincial government has been issued a fine of several $1,000s.
They had issued the fine to this company. The government issued a fine.
The provincial government has been issued a fine now. I don't know.
The government
WorkSafe BC
has issued a fine.
There you go. Issued.
Oh, there you go.
This is what I'm saying. I don't really quite get it.
Yeah, I was kind of confused now too, right? So there's a work site in Wannawan, which is between Fort St. John and Fort Nelson, observed unsafe fallen cuts. The penalty dated October 26, 2023 says inspectors also determined the provincial government did not verify the follower certification. That's why they're to blame.
So is it the government is suing the government? The government is,
I guess so, and did not actively monitor work as required by the falling safety program. That's why it's so confusing, because it's just like, who the government issues the government a fine, and there you go,
pay up,
and that's the head eating the tail,
right?
Oh, that's an interesting story, and that's what confused us. So a fine of $710,488.79.
I'm going to go home and issue myself a fine tonight too.
It's eating the tail.
For not pre-reading that story. Okay. Get ready to lace up and join the Vancouver Sun Run training clinic in 2024.
Our good friend Christy Loving is part of this. Christy and Ange are back with an exciting program to get you walking, running, and running it. Marcy wants to run a marathon. Here you go. Here's your chance. April 21st. You can go on the Vancouver Sun Run. It's 10K. And she's offering clinics and workshops, so you can get yourself prepared for this fun run. Again, not going to go through all the details, but you can go to KelownaNow.com. There's links. There's an email address to Christy. And she wants you to lace up your shoes and get ready for an incredible journey towards the Vancouver Sun Run. Sounds like fun. 10K. Can you do 10K? Yeah.
Like a boss.
Oh, yeah.
I've done 10K once in my car. Anyway,
for those who had clear skies last night, there was quite the view as Starlink, that's SpaceX's satellites.
This is a watershed moment, actually. SpaceX launched some Starlink satellites last night, including 6 of the first direct-to-cell capabilities. And what's cool about that is that means, especially if you're out in the bush, your cell phone doesn't work. If you're driving the connector, the Coquihalla, Rogers Pass, you got no cell link connectivity. And if we go to the next slide there, this is going to help connect. It's going to be slower, so it'll be text, voice, and data. At first, you won't be able to watch video and stuff like that because I think it's like 7 megabytes or something like that. But if we go to the next slide even. So this is how it kind of works. So it's going to partner with cell phone companies that exist already. And good news, one of the Canadian companies is part of the list. I don't know if we have that next slide there that kind of lists some of the partner companies. And we can't really read it, but the company in Canada is Rogers. So if you're on Bell, like I am, I guess you don't get it right now. Anyway, so there you go. Marcy's going to get it. So what that's going to do is allow you to have connectivity everywhere. Like if you're out in the bush, your cell phone doesn't work, and that'll help for people for safety, a whole bunch of things, right? So it's always great to have. And that's another great thing brought to you by SpaceX.
And your guy Elon.
Yeah. He's done some pretty cool things. And I think these slides, I think they were, so there's the video of the deployment of the satellite dishes. Like that is a pretty big event, actually. If you think about that, you'll now have, with people in Rogers anyway, you'll now have connectivity everywhere you go. So think of the safety, like you go out in the bush or whatever, and you can actually contact somebody.
It's a meaningful.
It's a pretty big thing. Like,
I think
a lot of people think like cell phones should work everywhere, and unless you had a lot of money, you could buy a satellite phone, right? This is like everybody gets a satellite phone,
and really, you know what? Not too far off in the backcountry here, you do lose coverage if you're up behind.
You can lose coverage in Magic Estates.
Yeah, pretty much. Right.
Some areas of
my basement. Yeah, it's
so there you go. And then while we're on our friend Elon Musk, which runs SpaceX, and Starlink is a part of SpaceX, there's a little year-end video from Tesla that I thought we should watch. So this is the year-end video from Tesla of all the things that Tesla's done. This 5 million vehicles they produce now to date. And that's their Giga Texas factory. 1 million vehicles now on the road in Europe because they just started there because they have a factory in Berlin now, Giga Berlin. So look at that.
5,000 builds per week.
Yeah, at Gigafactory. And Shanghai is that is their biggest factory and the fastest factory. I think they do a car every 35 seconds or something like The supercharger network, now the biggest network in the world, now adopted by most of the auto manufacturers. And there's a Mexican factory going to go ahead. And then the Model S Plaid is breaking records still to this day.
Jeez.
Crazy. S3, X, and Y are the most American-made vehicles on this out of all the automakers. And the Model Y became the world's best-selling car this year. And that's not just EVs.
That's an impressive year.
That is an impressive year. Very, very.
Some people are very eager to see the year go by, and well, after a year like that, I'm sure they're just as jacked up about 2024 as they were about 2023.
I think technology, it definitely is going to be a big factor as we move forward. I'm going to the CES on January 8th through 12th, and I'll be live streaming and showing you some of the tech that's going through there. And then I'll be joining Marcy and Jason in studio here and seeing what we can find.
Awesome.
Until tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
That's our last story.
That's our last story.
Okay.
I think it is.
It is. All right. Excellent.
See that? Nothing but white space.
Perfect. So don't forget to like and subscribe to channels. Head over to KelownaNow.com for all the details on these stories and more. And subscribe to our newsletter, too.
We're going to do something cool tomorrow. We're going to do that goal setting. So if anybody's interested, you want to talk about goals.
Bring some paper.
Bring some paper.
We'll
bring some ambition.
Down. Yeah. And don't waste another day of the year.
That's right.
Join us tomorrow.
Make every day count.
Mm-hmm.